I'm SP from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a show about the general Marvel comic universe, part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other hilarious and fun geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
In 2017, Netflix cancelled Sense8. Fans then cancelled Netflix, proving that cancellation can go both ways. So, Save Our Show fan campaigns for probably the last 4 to 5 years, they haven't had a massive physical element. A portion of that time we weren't able to physically meet in a lot of countries around the world and campaign in a physical location together, but also the traditional symbolic activity of picking something physical from the show, whether it's small branches, bottles of chili sauce, peanuts, whatever it is, and sending those in massive bulk quantities to network executives, that kind of fan action at the very least seems to be less publicised and is receiving less media than maybe what it did in the past. It's hard to tell whether it's actually stopped, whether fans are still doing that, sending in physical stuff, or whether just simply the media around Save Our Show fan campaigns isn't as enamoured as it once was with the creativity of fans, adding extra friction to an executive's day, which I think is still fantastic. Good on them. So with that said, 2017 did mark a little bit of a transition in the Save Our Show fan campaign world because the big platforms, Netflix at the time, Amazon Prime, the big streaming platforms were becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and more shows were being made in-house and or continued on those platforms for 3rd, 4th and 5th seasons, whatever it happened to be. That was a big change in the industry. The big shows were more and more being created on those platforms and less so on mainstream traditional over-the-air broadcasters. Essentially what that meant, though, was really for the first time, fans had a direct way to impact the bottom line of those companies. So in this case with Sense8 being Netflix, they can cancel their membership. And Sense8 is one of the earliest fan campaigns where this was a main tenet of the beginning of the fan campaign, was to take a shot at Netflix's bank account, but also at their active monthly users. So a lot of these companies, and it's still the case now in 2023, they care as much or more about saying how many users they have as opposed to how profitable they are or how much money they're generating. So the stock price of the company can move as much on the back of we have this many users as it does with this is how much money we made or this is how much profit we made. So users is super important to all of these streaming platforms. And going back to Sense8, the fans knew that. It was a show created within a world where you can take a shot at the company and remove yourself as a user. There was no point in the past with over-the-air broadcasters or the traditional networks where you could just, as an individual, signal that directly, I am no longer interested in your company because you cancelled this show that I love. So, as much as, for me, creating a show about these fan campaigns, the romanticism around the physical nature of fan action, whether that's gatherings or actually sending physical items to networks, that does feel lost to me. But it's been replaced by a process that may, over time, prove itself to be even more effective. You cancelled the show, I'm cancelling my subscription. It's pretty effective. And when that happens en masse, or at least to the point where it's noticeable, there's a groundswell of people not just saying that they're going to cancel, but actually doing it. That's when executives will really take notice. We cancelled a show. These people are now not users anymore. If it happens to be a free app from a traditional broadcaster, basically a catch-up app, this person has logged out and they haven't logged back in. That person on Twitter, like, for example, Twitter user @FringeNOS or @FringeNOS, said, quote, "It feels good to return the favour @Netflix #Sense8, unquote." That person, we can see that they've cancelled their membership because they attached a screenshot of the cancelled membership. there's no guessing that that person's dropped out of the ratings, that individual. We can see that they've done that. They've actively said, bye-bye, catch you later. So I think this is going to become more common, and it has since 2017 been more common. The thing with Sense8 that felt a little different, and I'm sure the more I dig into more modern shows, say 2015 and forward to 2023 where we are now, I'll probably find more examples of this. But not every time a fandom has said we're going to cancel our membership or we should all cancel our membership has that actually happened. The Sense8 community followed through and actually did it, which I think is cool. They didn't exactly put their money where their mouths were. They kind of took their money where their mouths were, if that makes any sense whatsoever now that I've said that out loud. So to sum that up, I had another tweet here from Jagerkrieg _ so at Jagerkrieg _ quote, "Let's all cancel at Netflix until they bring back at Sense8 or at least give us a finale. Hashtag Sense8 Season 3, hashtag Sense8, unquote." So the reason I wanted to mention that particular quote was A, it points to what we just spoke about, that the community rallied to cancel and then actually did it. But also it mentioned in there a Sense8 finale. And that is what happened with Sense8. They didn't get a Season 3, but what did happen was Sense8 got a finale special. So the pressure from fans, cast and crew, everyone involved around the show, and that groundswell of people actually costing Netflix money because they cancelled one show in their catalogue had an impact. And that's what's important here. Okay, guys, thank you once again for listening to On the Bubble podcast. You can go to jcaldigital.org/OTB, or you can find a link to the show in the notes where you're listening today. You can also go to the gunnergeek.com website, and On the Bubble podcast is on there. Thank you to the Gunner Geek community. Thank you to you guys, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.